Okay, so just a minute here. We're going to be finishing up section one or chapter one. So talking about biases and studies. So we're going to identify bias and define it and identify sources of bias. So we kind of already talked a little bit about bias as we were going through this, things that can cause some issues. So biased and unbiased studies. Bias is the degree to which a procedure systematically overestimates or underestimates a population value. So what we mean by this is if I wanted to do a study on average body temperature, and then I pick a large part of my population that might be like have hypothyroid, well then what's going to happen is the hypothyroid is going to kind of push the body temperatures, because usually you have a lower body temperature, it's going to say that average body temperature is a little lower than it is. So that's what I mean by under and overestimating. We collected a sample that wasn't descriptive of the whole population. It was more geared towards people who have lower body temperatures, and that's what's going to cause that bias. A study conducted by a procedure that intends to overestimate or underestimate a population's value is said to be biased. A study conducted by a procedure that produces the correct result on the averages is said to be unbiased. So typically, if you do like your simple random samples, it should be unbiased. Here, like things like your convenience samples. Sorry, my pen is not writing very well in here. So if you do like convenience sampling, that one tends to be more biased because you're gathering a population that's going to tend to be one way or another. So we want to determine whether a scenario is biased or unbiased. If it is biased, how could we change that study to eliminate or minimize the bias? So this is our study. To study the effectiveness of a flu vaccine, 200 healthy volunteers were given 2 doses of MedLab's new vaccine. Okay, that's a company I made up. Put that out there. After a year, MedLabs reported that flu hospitalization rates, that should be rates, had decreased for those taking the new vaccine when compared to the country's hospitalization rates of the previous year. So one of the things that's a problem here is my sample. So I collected a sample of just healthy people. Now, not everybody who's going to be vaccinated is necessarily going to be considered healthy. And that's another thing, is like, what is considered healthy? So I'm giving a flu vaccine to healthy people, and then I'm seeing how it's going to react. So there's a possibility that healthy people are going to have better hospitalization, are going to have less hospitalization already. Okay, just a second. Hospitalizations. There we go. I think I misspelled something here, trying to spell that. So healthy people have less hospitalizations than the whole country overall. So that is going to lead to a bias. So it's going to say that those rates are less than the new vaccine, and it may not actually be true because we have biased the data. So in this case, that data is biased. Because if you look at everybody in the entire country, you're going to have healthy people, but you're going to have immune compromised people. You're going to have people with health conditions that may interfere with a vaccine or may more likely to make you sick with the flu. Like if this had people with emphysema, the flu is going to hit those people harder than it is the healthy people. So when I look at just healthy people, it's biasing my data. So what I could do to fix it And this is gonna be, maybe not the best idea. I'm gonna fix the study by adding unhealthy people to the sample. So not only we don't look at just healthy people, we want to look at people who have heart disease, who have emphysema, who are immune compromised, all these other things. Technically, that's what we'd want to look at. The problem with this is that that's going to come to a ethics issue. Like, should we test a new vaccine on unhealthy people? Might not be the best idea. So sometimes you can't avoid bias in a study because of ethics. This would be kind of be an example of this. Usually when we test out like new vaccines, we test it out on healthy people. We don't want to test it out on not healthy people. That's one way I could have fixed the study. My other, or we could just compare the 200 in the sample to just, or to all healthy people. This would probably be a better way to do it. So instead of saying this is the hospitalization rates of these healthy people, like once again, what is the definition of healthy? I don't know. But we can compare these healthy people instead of just to the country altogether, but compare it to just other healthy people. So we look at all the healthy people who are recorded as healthy going into the doctor, look at their hospitalization rates, and compare it to people who were in the study. There's other things you could add to this, like you want to make sure both are being vaccinated somehow, other things like that. But like I said, there's two ways you can do this. We can either stick unhealthy people in the study, which is an ethics issue, or we could just compare it to just other healthy people. So sometimes the way that we can fix a study is not changing what our sample is, but changing our population. Okay. Another case, decide if it's biased or unbiased, and how could we eliminate or minimize that bias? A local ISD was debating whether to have armed guards in the school. They decided to ask parents to come to an after school meeting and asked, and this is what they're asking, with the increase in school violence, would you feel comfortable with having armed guards in the school? Voting by a raise of hands, so everybody's in the room, they can see each other by a raise of hands. 46 out of the 89 parents that came to this event who attended voted yes, and 12 voted no. So there's a variety of different kinds of biases here. But this is definitely a bias study. What we have here is, check out my highlighter here. We have a couple issues. I'm sorry, it's this computer and Zoom don't like to work well together sometimes. This problem here, part one problem is this is a leading question. We are priming them to be in favor of having armed guards. That's what's causing a bias. So how people may feel about it has been affected. So that is one thing. So that's going to lead more people to probably say, yes, they wouldn't want armed guards in school, and that may not actually reflect how people really feel. One thing is there is a problem, like this is a sample of convenience. Because where was it? So it's just people who attended the event. Okay, I know I spelled convenience wrong, but now I can't think how to do it. Convene. All right, we'll just leave it. The sample of convenience is that only the people who came to the event. So parents will work at nights like this. If this was an after school, so this is after school, meaning certain parents, like if you worked second shift, you will not be attending this event. You may care, you may want to be there to surprise your kid, but you wouldn't be attending because you'd be at work at this time. So that is a problem. It's going to make certain parts of the population will not be able to attend. Or if you're something that keeps you at home, like maybe you're more homebound for some reason, and it makes it harder for you to get out, you would not attend the event. So it's that sample of convenience that's causing there to be the systematic difference between the people who attend and the people who don't. So that's one problem. The other is this part right here. I forgot to spell anonymous. It's not anonymous. I can't fit it all in there. We'll just shorten it. So it's not anonymous is part of the problem here. Um, so you got a bunch of people who are sitting in the room with other parents, and a lot more of them may have felt just like they wanted to say no, but they may not have felt comfortable doing it, partly because there was that leading question ahead of time. And they're looking around, they seeing a lot of people voting yes, and then you go, who votes no afterwards? Less of them are probably going to say anything. You also have a lot of people who did not respond. We have 89 parents there, but only 58 of them actually voted. So there is a significant amount of this population that didn't vote. And that's another thing is there could be something different between the people who would voice their opinion and those who kept it to themselves. So once again, these are all things that could cause bias. We're missing parts of the information, and it could lead this to all to push towards, more people saying they want armed guards in the school than what really reflects what the population feels.